GCMMA guys coming to you this week with our Cejudo versus Yadong breakdown. We hope you boys had a enjoyable time watching the reaction. Once again, GCMMA came off a good card. This one, there are a couple tricky fights, I won't lie, boys, so we're going to be a little bit lighter on the bets for this one, but it should still be a good card nonetheless.
Yeah, boys, I mean, like, these fight night, some of these fight night cards, like, were better than the pay-per-view that we got last time, the Duplessis Strickland card. But anyways, I got my boy John Silva on the card, fighting nerds all the way. I think he's gonna fuck up that Bogdasarian guy, but
the Armenian Jack Harlow.
Yeah, that guy's an idiot, bro. The Armenian Roman Kopylov.
Okay.
But anyways, boys,
getting into the first fight, boys, we've got Modestas Bukauskas versus Rafael Kukaria. I don't know how fucked this Rafael Kukaria guy is, but there's no goddamn reason Modestas Bukauskas should be minus 300.
Yeah, that's not no shot.
Fucking anybody, guys. I'm personally laying off this fight, but I'm probably gonna go with Rafael Kukaria. His one loss was getting knocked out against Ibo Aslan, who was Modestas Bukauskas putting away, bro. I'm gonna go Rafael Kukaria with an underdog here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree here. I do not trust Modestas Bukauskas at minus 300 whatsoever.
I don't trust that motherfucker. Period.
Yeah, at all. To be honest, like, he's gone rogue plenty of times in the UFC. I'm gonna go this Rafael guy. I know he got knocked out in his last fight, but that Ibo Aslan guy is actually pretty raw, and he's about to fuck up Ion Cutelaba in his next fight. So give me Rafael here, boys. I'm not betting this, but if I had to pick a side, I'm going Rafael.
Next fight is Nurulstin Rozaboyev versus Eric McConaughey. This one's not even really like a fair prediction. Like, what are we supposed to say? Oh, yeah, we saw Eric McConaughey's performance. Like, guys, we love the UFC and we know about all there is to know about that. But these guys outside of the UFC, we're UFC fanatics. We're not like MMA fanatics where we've ever heard of any of these people. And when that becomes the case, we're just going to be 100% honest with you guys that we don't know what the fuck like we're even talking about with some of these fights. And this happens to be one of them. So it's the cheap answer, but I'm definitely going Nurulstin Rozaboyev.
Yeah, I do not know who this Eric McConaughey guy is or whoever this guy is. He's making his debut. I'm going to go Rozaboyev because I've seen him fight before. I know his abilities, and he's not the greatest fighter in the division or even close to being the greatest fighter, but he's still good.
He belongs at middleweight.
Yeah, he's still a good, talented fighter with UFC experience. So I'm obviously going to pick him over this guy who's just coming in making his debut.
The next fight, guys, is Nikolai Veretennikov versus Austin Vanderford. I'm going to go this Nikolai dude. I mean, he definitely lost his fight against Danny Barlow, but just getting that one fight in the UFC against like a trickier striker, I feel like that gives him a little bit of the edge against this guy. Austin Vanderford, so he's never fought in the Contender Series or any of that. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna go Nikolai, guys. I'm pretty sure this was short notice, so it's not really that fair for the dude. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, Nikolai, he kind of impressed me in his debut, even though he lost. So I'll trust him, even though he's not the most experienced UFC fighter yet.
That was definitely a close fight that he had with Danny Barlow. Like, Danny Barlow clearly won the fight, but by no means was an easy dominant victory. He struggled at times on the feet against Nikolai, and I think Danny Barlow is a pretty good striker, and to be having a close fight with a pretty good striker like that, I have faith in you to beat somebody like fucking Austin Vanderbilt or whatever the hell this guy's name is.
Austin fucking Vanderford. Yeah, boys, leading us into our next fight, and this is why we're saying we're 3 fights in, no bets. This is the 4th fight with no bet. Ricky Simone and Javid Basharat. I would rather give money away to the needy than fucking bet it on either of these guys because Ricky Simone fucking sucks. And Javid Basharat is just a guy where I think he's a little bit overhyped. Oh, wait a second. I think this is the shitty of the Basharat brothers.
That's the shittiest one.
Okay, yeah.
The other one's not as shitty as he is.
To be completely honest, guys, I know there's no bet on this. I'm probably going to have to... No, dude,
Don't
I can't.
do it, bro.
I can't.
Don't do it.
But I'm going Javid Basharat, guys. I can't stomach picking Ricky Simone after the shit that he put us through in the times we faded him. So I'm going to have to go with the dynamic striking of Basharat. But he did lose to Amian Zahabi, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he lost to Ricky Simone. Ricky Simone just has 0% of my support.
Yeah, boys. Y'all know how we feel about Ricky Simone if you've been watching our channel for a long time. Like, when you saw this fight get announced, you knew who we were picking, and it's not going to be Ricky Simone. It's probably never going to be Ricky Simone ever again. Javid Basharat is not the greatest next up prospect fighter, but he can get the job done against an Asian 0-3 in his last 3, Ricky Simone. Like, give me Basharat, boys.
Yeah, and that leads us into our next fight, and this is actually a much, much, much trickier fight than I feel like people are trying to make it seem. And like it's the Sir Abdul Malik versus Nick Klein. I don't know if you guys are very familiar with the dudes who fought on the Contender Series coming in, but Nick Klein got a first round submission 37 seconds into the fight he had on the Contender Series where he was like a plus 200 something underdog.
Yeah, I remember
So I don't necessarily want to say he's going to win this, but I do think that like these are two guys who are coming off of very impressive performances on the Contender Series. I know Abdul Malik had a fight in the UFC, and which is that's why I'm leaning him here. But I just don't want you guys to think that laying minus 1,000 with this guy is like
no way. What the fuck?
He's minus 1,000, bro.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I would pick this fight to not go the distance. I don't know what the odds on that are, and I'm gonna lean Mansour Abdul Malik. But Nick Klein, he's really not that bad. Like I said, I don't think he probably doesn't submit him here, but I mean he's not a bad pick by any means.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are going to go on to do some pretty good things in the UFC. But I'm going to have to lean Mansour here just because I like how he's had that one UFC fight already. He's got like the first fight jitters out of the way. And I like his technique is pretty clean throughout his fights, and that's something that I think goes a long way when it comes down to people making their debut. Whoever has the cleaner technique usually has a pretty good advantage. So I'm going to go Mansour here, boys.
Leading us into the next fight on the prelims, we have Andre Fili versus Malik Wiesel Costa. This is a pick'em. It's very close, but I just don't know. I don't think I'm willing to pick Andre Fili again. I think this is what this comes down to. Ezequiel Costa, yes, he got knocked out by Steve Garcia, but I picked him in whatever his last fight was against that big-ass Asian dude who was low-key winning the entire fight, and Ezequiel Costa pulled a submission out of his ass in the 3rd round. That's the type of stuff I can respect and get behind when it comes to picking a fighter. Andre Fili, yes, he's entertaining. Yes, he's a vet. He has a good style. But he's getting knocked out more times than he's not these days. And I just don't think that a split decision win over Cub Swanson, who was fucking 41 years old, is enough to make me think that this up-and-coming dude who has a better ground game than Andre Fili is going to be able to win this fight. So I'm probably going to go Ezequiel Costa here, boys.
Yeah, Andre Fili, like, he's cool, whatever. He's cool. He's a cool veteran, been in the UFC, he's had a lot of good fights. But he's getting old now. His chin isn't the best. His chin cannot be trusted at this point in his career. And I know he's coming off a win, but like he said, split decision with Cub Swanson.
That was a damn sweat, boys.
Yeah, like, give me Costa here. I think the youth and the durability is what's going to win in this fight, and he's going to be able to mix it up. I feel like keep Andre Fili guessing, and he's going to do enough to get that decision win in this fight.
Yeah, guys, and that leads us to the featured prelim, which is Ibo Aslan versus Iwan Kutelaba. You guys who've been watching us for some time now should know that Iwan Kutelaba is an automatic fade. I could give less of a shit if he won his last fight against that guy making his debut. Iwan Kutelaba losing against Felipe Lins was the nail in the god-forsaken coffin with him.
They literally cut Felipe Lins after that.
After winning a fight against Iwan Kutelaba. Like,
that's how shitty that fighter is, that you can beat him and the UFC still doesn't give a fuck about you because of how shitty he is.
I just think maybe Iwan Kutelaba has greater experience here and maybe he has more tools. But I do think that Ibo Aslan has good enough power to take him out, and he's shown that in his first 2 UFC fights. Sure, it wasn't maybe against the greatest competition, but if you're putting Iwan Kutelaba into the bracket of great competition, then you must be smoking something heavy because he's getting knocked out in this fight.
Yeah, I want whatever you're smoking if you think that. Ibo Aslan, though, is definitely on the sauce, so that's another advantage for picking him in this fight. Iwan Kutelaba is literally like just a fucking loose cannon when he goes into the octagon, and he is not the good kind. It's the kind that always gets fucked up, and he's gonna go in there trying to act all raw and shit, mean mugging before the fight, and he's gonna start throwing and get knocked the fuck out. That's as simple as it is. Ibo Aslan is definitely next up. He's a next up prospect in that division, and Iwan Kutelaba is on his way out the door.
Quick.
Yeah.
Leading into the main card, boys, we're starting off with Alonzo Menafield versus Julius Walker. Guys, another thing I was talking about on this card, there's just a lot of these fights that don't make much sense to me at all. I'm going to go Alonzo Menafield. How am I supposed to pick Julius Walker to make his debut against a guy who's really not even that bad?
Yeah, I don't really know who the fuck Julius Walker is, boys, but Alonzo Menafield isn't the greatest fighter, but he's definitely fought decent level of opposition in his career throughout the UFC, and I think that's going to give him an edge against, like, what, a 6-0 guy making his debut.
I mean, a decision victory over Jacob, or Dustin Jacoby, that's pretty decent, guys. Like, he's proven to be pretty decent.
Yeah, so that was a close-ass fight, though, to be fair, but he's all right. I mean, he's not the best, but he's good enough to pick over a 6-0 guy making their debut. But would I be surprised if Alonzo Menafield gets knocked out by some guy making their debut? Really. Probably not. I'm not betting this fight, but if I had to pick, I'm going to go Alonzo Menafield, boys.
On to the next fight, guys, and this is the goddamn lock of the entire year. I might honestly shed a tear if John Silva loses this, because there are not many people left who are safe in the UFC to count on for the future. And if John Silva is losing to this Meslik Bagshadarian fucking guy, then life makes no sense to me, guys. I am absolutely hammering Gene Silva in this fucking fight.
Yeah, boys, I know the Gene Silva's money line is super juiced at like
but
minus
sometimes
500.
the juice is worth the squeeze, boys.
Yeah, boys, this is one of those times where you have to go all in on the big favorite, boys. John Silva,
your fucking pockets inside out till there's not shit left in there. Then put it on John Silva, boys.
We don't even have to break this fight down all the way.
All guy gets knocked out.
Is say John Silva went on a 1 week and a half notice
against
Drew Dober and beat his ass. He fought 1.5 weeks ago, came back and whipped Drew Dober's ass. Mind you, a weight class above his own. He went up on a week and a half notice and whipped a decent fighter in that division's ass.
And we haven't even seen that much of his grappling yet. That's the thing, guys. I know I'm not trying to make the comparison. He's Anderson Silva. But what I'm saying is these Brazilian guys who prioritize their striking over their grappling, the Brazilian strikers are fucking raw somehow. Carlos Prates, Kai Baralho, like, I get it. Yes, these guys are all part of the Fighting Nerds, but they're not the first examples of good British striker, or not British, Brazilian strikers. So, I mean, this guy doesn't stand a chance. Props to him and huge respect for taking the fight, but he's getting knocked out.
Yeah, boys. That Melsik Bagdasarian guy is going out, boys. That's just as simple as it is. It's time. It's the Fighting Nerds' time to take over, and they're here, boys. We're gonna witness John Silva on some crazy shit. I already know.
Next fight, guys, we got Rob Font versus Gene Matsumoto. And guys, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that Rob Font is the ultimate gatekeeper of the 135-pound division. I get it. Gene Matsumoto's good. He's undefeated. But going to decision with Brad Katona, and that was a relatively close fight. Rob Font has knocked out Adrian Yanez, beat Kyler Phillips. He's shown time and time again that these guys who are trying to make that next leap up are going to get their ass kicked. And I know it's interesting to say something like that when Calvin Kattar just looked the way he did. But I do think Rob Font in his respective division is a little bit better than Calvin Kattar. And I hate to do this because I like Gene Matsumoto and I would be all over him if he finished Brad Katona. But like I said, guys, his fight was a little bit too close for my liking, and I'm not really buying all the hype that goes into this guy, so I'm going to have to pick Rob Font here.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick Rob Font here because I feel like Rob Font, I was really didn't think too highly of him. Picked against him, I think.
Kyler Phillips is impressive.
Yeah, Kyler Phillips is a pretty good prospect.
Dynamic.
He's dynamic. He's everywhere. He's definitely gonna do some things in the future here. So a victory over him definitely gains stock in Rob Font for me, and I think that Kyler Phillips is a better fighter than Jean Matsumoto. So if Rob Font can get Kyler Phillips out of there, I think he can do the same against John Matsumoto. And I know styles make fights and whatever, but
yeah.
I think Rob Font is going to be able to get it done here, boys. Well, I don't know if I'm going to bet this just because the last card.
I'm not betting
bald hair.
I'm not betting on Rob Font. I'm just picking him to win.
He's bald now, and I can, like, whenever fighters do shit like that, it's hard to put money behind them.
When fighters fuck with their hair, it's typically a good sign that I'm about to get fucked up.
Yeah,
they color it, they shave it, they get a stupid haircut, and they think that they're raw and some shit. Speaking of a really stupid haircut, that brings us into the co-main event. Brendan Allen versus Anthony Hernandez. And guys, I lean this fight going the distance. I don't see either guy getting finished here, but I'm 100% taking Anthony Hernandez to win this. Sure, maybe he hasn't beat the greatest competition in terms of ranked people, Roman Kopylov and then Michel Pereira, but Brendan Allen going to submits Paul Craig, split decision with Chris Curtis, losing the Imavov. He looked like horse manure in his last fight against Imavov, and I just don't think he has the grappling edge in a matchup like this. When he was against Imavov, he was like diving for the legs and not getting
his grappling looked horrible against Imavov.
It's just like, guys, Fluffy, I'm done capping on him. We picked against him and it was Roman Kopylov. We picked against him and it was Michel Pereira. This guy, he's a tough guy who wears people down and then makes them quit. Like, that's literally what he does, and I think he'll do that to Brendan Allen here. That makes me think there's a potential for a finish, but I still do lean this going the distance. But if I'm picking a side, it's 100% Anthony Hernandez. Brendan Allen sucks.
Yeah, I think Brendan Allen's has good enough grappling to survive, but not good enough grappling to avoid being put in shitty positions by Fluffy. I think Fluffy on the feet is going to be good enough to stand with Brendan Allen, and if it gets to the ground, I think he has a better ground game to get into those favorable positions and win that on the judges' scorecard. I could see him submitting Brendan Allen, but it's gonna be it's gonna be close if he does. Like, they're both of those guys are mainly grapplers, so it could go all the way to the distance. But I still have Fluffy winning either way, boys.
Into the main event, guys, we got Song Yadong and Henry Cejudo. This, as much as I'm confident in this pick, this is not a bet for me. Song Yadong, I do think he wins this. I think Henry Cejudo is absolutely washed like my fucking work uniform.
Shit's faded.
I think that he absolutely sucks, and I think being on a 3-fight skid and talking about I'm going to make the greatest comeback in UFC. Like, guys, when you're in a position where you can't say I'm going to be the greatest that's ever done it, the best you can say is I'm going to make the greatest comeback. I respect the mentality. If I was in Henry Cejudo's position, I'm not saying I wouldn't believe in myself enough to do that. I'm not knocking him for his belief in himself at all. But does that mean it's going to happen? Fuck no. He's about to be 4 in a row losing. I do think that Song Yadong, he has good enough wrestling to defend Henry Cejudo. I don't know that he's going to be able to offensively wrestle like crazy, but I do think he has enough to defend it, and I think that Henry Cejudo sucks on the feet because of that. He got rocked by Merab, for fuck's sake.
And Merab has horrible power, boys. We know this. Merab only wins fights because of cardio, but Henry Cejudo, he's, God knows, he's the damn near 40 at this point in the damn bantamweight division. Guys, Henry Cejudo's, I don't even know why he's coming back again. I thought he should have retired after that last loss, but I'm going Song Yadong here. This is probably the first time I'm ever picking Song Yadong on this channel. But
I picked him against Ricky Simone, I'll tell you that.
Was that on this channel?
No.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, boys, we've been on his ass for a while.
Yeah, we picked him against that, but I don't know if we picked him against Peter Yan. Yeah, we definitely did not. But he'll be able to get it done against an aging Henry Cejudo who should have honestly
Henry Cejudo,
who honestly should have never come back into the UFC. Like, you weren't beating the top 5 people. Bro.
It's just, it's hard as viewers to rationalize why fighters think the way that they do, but it just makes no fucking sense why Henry Cejudo thinks he still needs to be competing in the UFC.
I'm triple C.
You triple suck. Like, straight up, you're on a triple losing streak.
Dead ass.
For fuck's sake, fuck off with the triple C.
It's time to hang it up, bud. Your time, you wasted your prime by retiring early. Like, that's on you,
and guys,
bro.
don't think that we're being fake on some shit either. If we were at a UFC event and ran into Henry Cejudo, I would not ask him to shake my hand or a picture. And I know we didn't vlog it, but boys, when we were in UFC Tampa, we ran into a couple fighters that maybe we haven't talked a bunch of shit about, but we still did not even care enough to we didn't take pictures with really anybody either, but we didn't even care to say what's up to them type shit. Like, we were going up to our room, the elevator door opens and Manel Kopp is
just standing there with his shirt off.
Yeah, waiting, and we didn't even say, yo, is that Manel Kopp? We then the shit shut. We said, all right, bro.
Like, dude,
we're getting on these guys, so it's whatever. It's all love to all the fighters, all respect, but Henry Cejudo's not fucking winning, guys.
Yeah. When we say all this shit we say, it's in the context of what we're fucking talking about. Obviously,
Henry Cejudo could probably beat us in a wrestling match.
Real shit. He's probably a good guy. But in the sport of MMA at this stage in his career, he's not the best fighter.
someone at
Nothing-
Burger King could beat me in a burger cooking contest.
Dead
That
ass.
doesn't mean a fucking thing.
Boys, like, people who get offended by this shit, y'all are thinking too deep. We're just simply stating our
What's
opinions
the truth?
on what we watch. Nothing against the personal. I bet you most of these fighters are the nicest
great
people
great
ever.
fathers, great everything.
Yeah.
It's nothing about that.
But-
But when it comes to putting money on them, I'm putting it against them because they suck.
Yeah, we also go to work and earn our hard-earned money. We're not going to be putting it on some fucking guy
Like Henry Cejudo.
who's going out there getting rocked by Marab, of all people. Like, you
If
can't blame
anything,
us
I
for
might
that
take a
shit.
goddamn payday loan and put it against him.
We're trying to protect what's ours,
And then some.
and then some. No offense to them, but we're not fucking picking you when you're going rogue.
And look, guys, it's fair game. GCMMA, you want us to pick you? Don't suck. Henry Cejudo doesn't meet the goddamn criteria, so he's getting faded like a moth.
Simple as it is. We don't. This shit's not rocket science.
We're not
boys.
changing the rules as we go, boys. He sucks.
We're turning the camera on and telling you our opinions based on the fights we watch
based on a
every
couple
single
beers.
fucking week. Yeah, based on a couple drinks, a couple puffs, and we come on here and we tell you our opinions based off of the fights that we watch every single Saturday, boys. Every Saturday we're
And we've
watching
seen
cards.
multiple
top
Saturdays
to
of
bottom.
Henry Cejudo getting his ass whooped.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna sit here. Henry Cejudo, well, he was good like 4 years ago, so I'm just gonna pick him. He's kind of funny.
Yeah, and 4
Fuck
years
off.
ago I was in fucking high school. Who gives you shit? Anyways, boys, that's GCMMA. We've got a full night ahead of us. We hope the same for you guys. And if you don't, to be honest, boys, when you get your next day off, even if you don't have immediate friends, hit up some old friends. Hit the fucking bar, boys.
And then
We're-
maybe the casino.
Yeah, we're just trying to tell you, boys, this is a reminder to live your life. Yeah, we're drinking. Yeah, we're recording videos. But all we're saying, boys, is whenever you get the opportunity, be on some GCMMA shit. We're absolutely fucking out here living it up because we're doing this shit. So, boys, just an point of encouragement. If drinking and gambling isn't your thing, go out and play tennis or play golf or something.
Just hang out with the people you care about, boys.
Do something that you enjoy this week, boys, because there's no point in living if you don't feel alive. And with that being said, GCMMA out.
Yes, sir. See y'all, boys.